Are you ready to go to rookie of the year?
Not even remotely.
Me too. What's your ballot look like?
I don't have one. I refuse. In all seriousness, like I wrote about this in early March at Sportscasting, where I legitimately wish the award didn't exist this year, because you have to put down two players to boost the candidacy of one. And I don't really give a shit, because all three of these leading candidates, no disrespect to Franz Wagner, but he's not going to be in this conversation because the other three are that good, even though he would factor into this discussion in a normal season. And the same might be true for Herb Jones, who's just been phenomenal on defense. But these three players are all so clearly going to be megastars that I hate that we have to pick between them. And I feel like my case changes on a daily basis. So it's impossible. I have Scottie Barnes number one for the full season that he's put together and the ascension during the second half of the season, while filling such a key two-way role for what's become the best of these teams. I have Evan Mobley second. He might have remained in my number one spot had he not been injured, but it's tough to make the case for him over Barnes right now without the volume argument, because we're seeing the defense slip a little bit without Jared Allen. We're seeing that he is ultimately a little bit more reliant on the setup passes from Darius Garland, whereas Barnes is creating more of his own offense. And then I have Cade Cunningham at three, but he's also been, I would say, easily the most impressive of the three in recent weeks. And I now feel pretty strongly that he's going to have the best career of the three, even if all three of them could win an MVP one day. So like, I have Cade Cunningham third, and I hate myself for doing it, because there's a very legitimate argument that he could be number one based on the level to which he's risen for a shockingly competitive Detroit Pistons team during the second half of the season that he is so clearly leading. I view this as a season-long award where you have to weigh in that he missed time at the beginning of the year with an injury, that he was ineffective in the first spurt before he started to get his feet wet in the NBA and just took off. So because this is an award that I look at in totality and not just a level reached at the end of the season, which is so often lost when you just list out the ballot, I can't have him higher than three, even if he is now the first-year player who I would back most vociferously.
And so we had some pushback when we had the Who You Got pod between these three players specifically, which was really just auguring what we're talking about right now, that Cade shouldn't be in the discussion with them. It was a lazily thought out point, in my opinion, because if you won't listen to the rest of the pod because we were having a debate between Cade, Scottie, and Mobley, like you don't even think Cade belongs in the discussion, you're the one who's wrong there. And when you look at true usage percentage for these guys, or total offensive load percentage, which is just a better way per B-ball index, and then Seth Partnow of The Athletic came up with true usage percentage, it's just a better way of contextualizing and portraying how important or how large the share of the offense is that a player is responsible for when he's on the court. Cade Cunningham blows Scottie Barnes and Evan Mobley out of the water in this. He is the all everything to Detroit, essentially, on offense, where Barnes has I think the best collection of talent around him out of these three. That's not something used to chop him down, but that's what you have to consider when evaluating Cade Cunningham, is he hasn't had the most efficient season, but the level of control he has on the game and how well he's responded functionally when you watch him play to being saddled with that much responsibility in such what I would argue is the most difficult offensive role of any rookie this season. That matters. And so he's number three for me. The playing time came in there. I would push back if someone put him number one, because I do think that matters. I have Mobley number two and Barnes one. I think the Mobley injury,
lockstep again.
I do think the Mobley injury sort of does swing this in Barnes' favor a little bit, because it's going to give him the sample size edge. But when you start to look at the advanced metrics, Barnes leads in VORP. He leads in total NBA maths, total points added. He's ahead of every of these two in Raptor. When you look at luck adjusted, regular adjusted plus minus, Mobley is going to win that category out of these three. He also wins in LeBron. But Barnes, this was the difference maker for me, whether you like it or not. He's matched up with more difficult assignments on offense. I think that's because Mobley is more of like a Giannis, but even more so on the perimeter. So I'm not trying to compare the two. But then you look at offense. And like at this point in the season, we've seen Toronto run their crunch time unit through Scottie Barnes at points. Maybe they're forcing it. That's part of the development and opportunity. He's responded well. When you combine that with him just having a higher true usage and total offensive load percentage than Mobley, in addition to everything else he's done, if you're splitting hairs, that's where I'm going to start to split hairs. I think Scottie Barnes' role overall this season has been more difficult than Mobley's. And not only has he played more, but he's helped elevate a playoff team that is better than Cleveland right now. They're comparable when they're both at full strength. So that's what I went with, but it is splitting already like thrice split hairs. And if you picked Mobley, just because I do think he's a transcendent defensive talent in a way that I don't know Barnes will ever get there. I value more what Barnes is going to do away from the ball. I value every single thing ever that Evan Mobley is going to do on defense. So it is close, but I think just the combination of the playing time and plus Barnes is winning enough of the advanced metrics, has a difficult enough offensive role and even difficult enough defensive role when you just look at how much he's been moved around in Toronto. And yeah, there's sort of the madness of Nick Nurse caked in there where he just is so brazen with some of the matchups he throws out there. But with Scottie specifically and other players, there's the level of it's also because we can or because we should. And Scottie fits under that umbrella more than the egregiousness of Nick Nurse umbrella.